As we gather to honor our ancestors this Dia de los Muertos, we are reminded that we all share a lineage. Black, Indigenous, Latinx, East and South Asian, Middle Eastern and North African, and white allies and beyond. We are all deeply connected. And so many of us share struggles for freedom, dignity, and justice. From the resistance of colonization and slavery to the fight for civil rights and sovereignty, our ancestors' dreams have united us across generations. And I thank you for holding space for me. I am the daughter of Shirley Jean, and Shirley Jean is the daughter of Layla, and Layla is the daughter of Effie Mae. I often think of the women who came before me, who suffered unspeakable violence, even as we built and nurtured a nation, one that often refused to see my humanity and theirs. I think of the women in my family who through the centuries have carried me here to this place and to this work. Just as the spirits of our Black ancestors move within us, so too do the spirits of our Latinx and Indigenous ancestors still move today, calling on us to fight for justice. The fight for Black liberation is inseparable from the fight for Indigenous and Latinx sovereignty and dignity. By standing together, we honor our collective ancestors, not just by remembering their lives, but by continuing the work that they started. Voting is one of the most powerful intersectional practices of solidarity that we have today. When we vote for Indigenous land protectors. We vote for migrant families who've been harmed by unjust policies. We vote for a just future. We vote for Black and Brown and Indigenous lives lost to racial violence and hate, and for a future without racism. We vote for freedom and for empowerment. Our ancestors' struggles are connected. Their dreams, their resistance, and their resilience unite us. Across the YWCA network, in communities, we touch the lives of survivors. We help shape the lives of children. As we build ofrendas and light candles, let us transform our collective grief into powerful movement for justice and healing that will light the path of our future. Let us use our voice and our vote to honor the struggles of the past and to lift the hopes for tomorrow. Voting is not just a right. It is a sacred duty. It is a way of keeping our ancestors' dreams alive. Muchas gracias.
Tatera shinya abuelo nye shi bisabuelo shi familia nye na cueta shabino una gachi kuni shinyena na lane iyo presente na mente nye lane na nishishna chiina utura chiina nduchi sana anaye shakase chie shakase kutsiake bisiraye yo o mejor gaña sana anaye bisabuelo nye na shanishi kisha enseñana y un camino ye asana anaye shakasa mejora nya vida ñe, un ciudadano ñe con derecho a casa construye lugar ñe mejor lugar se era ciudadano se ku casa botana ku casa cambiana mi ñononde se cochiga se ña duchira maíza so yo poderna ku casa sembrana inga tucuña inga tucu tipo de semilla inga semilla ña diferente inga semilla ña iyo poder ña casa na y cambio ña Mundo ña ñuyivi más justo para todos. Nunzi ech. Tashabi na la nen shi na shan shi na.
I believe Chicano artists and activists have played a crucial role in shaping Dia de los Muertos into a platform for political and cultural consciousness. Chicano artists in the US began reinterpreting and expanding the celebration in the 1960s and 1970s as part of a broader Chicano movement, which sought to reclaim Mexico, identifying culture and history in the face of racial discrimination and culture erasure. Our local Dia de los Muertos projects is reclaiming our indigenous Mexican heritage while addressing contemporary issues of identity and marginalization. The altar is a piece of art. It has allowed us to use art to represent the many aspects of our community. Our community has engaged with Dia de los Muertos through an All Souls procession. The All Souls procession weekend honors the ancestors and our lost loved ones and celebrates life. This is only an example of how culture is healing. In Spanish, we have a saying, La cultura cura, culture is healing. By adopting the holiday per se to urban American content, artists are helping foster a deeper cultural connection for Mexican Americans, Latinos, who may have felt disconnected from the traditions of Mexico. Though we honor our ancestors all year, Dia de los Muertos is a special time when we make intentional efforts to connect with, celebrate, and thank our ancestors because of the sacrifices they made for me before they even knew me, but especially the women who I know did so much to bring me to where I am today or now. It is because of the struggles, battles, and sacrifices of those that came before us that we have the right to influence how our communities are constructed for ourselves and our children. We do this through our vote and our voice. You can see why this holiday holds special meaning to me, as I know it does for so many others. This Dia de los Muertos, we invited our community and partners to join us in honoring not only our ancestors, but also the struggles that continue to impact our community. We are combining the power of a cultural celebration with civic engagement. We are creating a community altar. Our altar will honor the countless life affected by immigration, policies, and the ongoing struggle for humane reform. We are inviting our community partners to offer an ofrenda that reflects these issues and honors the lives affected by them. The ofrendas are photographs, artwork, or personal items representing loved ones impacted by immigration, systematic racism, or gender violence. Messages or poems advocating for justice and equity, symbols of resistance or hope, or cultural items that speak to the resilience of our community. We believe that together we can make sure every voice is heard this election season.
We all come from different backgrounds. You talk about the country as a whole, right? United States of America, we're a melting pot. However, with that being a melting pot, we bring all of our traditions, we bring all our cultural practices, and that's the beauty of America. And with that, we need to highlight this to teach the youth about these practices. Utilize it as a way to teach the younger generation that this is what we bring to America. We are all part of building this society, and this is why it is important for us to participate in the civic engagement of voting, of understanding your policies within your communities. And if we're not teaching the younger generation this, it's going to get lost and they're going to lose themselves and they're not going to see themselves as part of this society. Sometimes some of us maybe are embarrassed of our backgrounds or maybe tend to hide because we're different, and we need to be proud and show those different cultural differences. Those differences are what make us beautiful. And this is what I love about Dia de los Muertos, because we are honoring those who have fought for the rights that we have today. These are ancestors who wish they had the right to vote. And so I feel like it's not only my personal duty to teach my kids the importance of voting, but also just spreading awareness with my coworkers, family, and friends that this is something we always didn't have in my culture. I consider myself Chicana and also an indigenous uh, person, and so both of those identities didn't have the right to vote until modern history. We can't just sit back and complain about the things we don't have or complain about restricting voting rights, taking away little by little, chipping at the access to even vote in certain communities. We have the power to take it back. We all need to step up and show out to the polls this November. Just make sure that you're looking at credible sources of information. Thank you.
Este proyecto se inició en el año 2019 en YWCA of Greater Austin, cuando yo era la directora ejecutiva, y me dio muchísimo gusto que junto con YWCA of USA podemos dar a luz este poderoso mensaje para honrar a nuestros antepasados y ancestros de una manera que nos une a todos en la hermandad. Pienso muy frecuentemente en mi familia, en mi cultura, que nosotros en nuestra cultura mexicana celebramos Día de los Muertos para celebrar a nuestros antepasados y que nos inspiren a ser buenos ancestros nosotros. Crear espacio para nuestros antepasados es un acto de amor, de sanación y un cuidado comunitario muy bonito. Estas enseñanzas me recuerdan mucho a los legados, unas figuras aquí en Texas, como Emma Tenayuca y Gloria Anzaldúa, que ellas vivieron unas vidas muy ejemplares aquí en Texas sobre la resistencia y creación de espacios para la comunidad. Emma Tenayuca, conocida como la Pasionaria de Texas, lideró la huelga de los trabajadores de las nueces en el año 1938, desafiando sistemas de explotación en favor de la dignidad laboral. Ella nos mostró que la lucha por la justicia requiere valentía, organización y la unión de voces colectivas. Al igual que hoy, votamos para construir un futuro más justo. Gloria Anzaldúa, ella era una escritora y teórica que enseñó sobre el mestizaje, ¿verdad? Y las fronteras y el poder de la identidad plural. Su trabajo nos invita a habitar espacios liminales como se conocían. Y estos espacios era una manera de ver en nuestras comunidades las diferencias que nos unen y que nos fortalecen. Y en este Día de los Muertos, la visión de Gloria Anzaldúa nos recuerda que honrar a nuestros ancestros también significa abrazar el cambio, sanar heridas históricas y abrir caminos hacia nuevas formas de ser. Su concepto de la frontera no es solo geográfico, sino emocional y espiritual, un recordatorio de que nuestros actos políticos, como votar, también son actos de autodefinición y liberación. Y en este Día de los Muertos reconocemos a los ancestros que lucharon mucho para nuestra misión de YWCA. Estos espacios se han convertido en plataformas para dialogar sobre la migración, equidad racial y derechos de voto, ayudándonos a reclamar nuestro poder a través de la participación cívica. Votar no es solo un derecho, sino un acto sagrado, una continuación del trabajo que comenzamos con nuestros antepasados y lo comenzaron hace mucho tiempo. Las decisiones que tomamos, ya sea en los botiqueros del voto o a través de pequeños actos de cuidado, que se convierten en la fundación de un futuro donde nadie se queda atrás. Debemos nutrir nuestras comunidades con cuidado, intención y apoyo mutuo.
The celebration of Dia de los Muertos takes many different forms depending on where you are in the world. One thing that kind of connects all of the cultural practices is a through line of storytelling, of memory, in particular, the memory of our ancestors, of those who came before us, and even impactful figures in the larger story of our communities, of our families, and all those different ways that we belong. Remembering our loved ones and remembering those who came before us, there's a responsibility to also think about how are we going to be remembered and how do we want to leave a world for those who come after us. It has to be more than just a moment of memory, a moment of reflection. We are thinking about not only ourselves and those who are around us, those opportunities to connect, it makes us more powerful. It helps us leverage our voice in ways that we can't imagine or do by ourselves. We can see it turning into grassroots movements. We see it turning into different projects within the community. That's an important thing to note, that there are levels to the engagement. And one of the biggest ones that's promoted across the nation is the active voting. It's a critical one, and it's something that we do to impact that change into the future and continue on the story, continue on the larger history of what we're doing and how we're connected. Because it's not just my voice, it's the voice of my neighbors, it's the experiences that my mother had or even my grandmother had, and how it impacted their trajectory and careers, or even what they could imagine for themselves. And then thinking about what kind of implications our decisions now are going to have in the future. But using this opportunity of the cultural celebration of Dia de los Muertos in the context of national conversations, whatever they may be, sets a stage for us to have these deeper conversations and really do the inquiry, like taking into account what we started from, where we're at now, and what we hope to accomplish in the future, and holding ourselves accountable to act.